school that went up, and there's supposed to be like placemats at your board table.
Okay.
So
everybody has.
yeah, so I laminate them.
Oh, I
Nice.
But those are the extra ones.
Okay.
And then,
Yeah, you don't want me to just keep those and put them out, or do you want people to?
if they're helpful, I mean,
Some of
They
it
can
is
leave them
helpful.
here.
Yeah, you can leave them here and I'll put them
Yeah,
out.
we can put them in the cabinet with your nameplate and stuff.
Otherwise, just floating around my Jeep. Next 3 years.
You know how that goes, and then you get in here like, oh, I forgot to
Out
bring
in my Jeep.
and it's totally fine, there's no.
I think she has it in for this week, so.
Yep, we're really not paying you the way that we, yep. So our recommendation is 40 cents for each turkey.
Sorry.
How was the attendance down there?
Good.
So there was people that were-
So Spencer Beavers, Spencer, he said that's like as mandatory for their board as it can be. So they have them all go up on Thursday for the day when they have all the sessions.
People,
I was hopeful that tomorrow.
So, and I know like one of them was having a new grandbaby, so she didn't come, but I think the rest of the board.
well, that's, I could skip that. That part.
So it was,
They're not any fun until they get about 6 months old anyway.
and I think all the keynotes were really good, and I liked my sessions. I think you liked yours.
Yeah.
So,
I'm putting it in my calendar right now.
I mean, Brian, if you could
Tell
make
Brian
it work, it is.
Sign him up, help me.
I'll never be able to make that work that time of year. Never. No, there's real work to be done. That will never fit into it.
Great.
In the spring or fall.
It's probably, if it's February, I'm in
I
there,
was gonna say.
you know, but not November.
They handed these out at the IASB conference, Ray, and they recommended leaving them at your board table.
Yeah.
Just has different like open meeting stuff, questions, finance stuff.
We got paychecks this time?
Yeah, you're end of the year, so you
Get our bonus. Christmas bonus.
get your bonus.
I already got the pool
Did we
started.
save enough
Say-
money that we get a bonus?
For mine, it'd be a bill.
Like I'm out money at this point.
I hate picking up the mail. That's all it is.
Junk mail and bills.
I'm even happy with the junk mail. With bills.
Jody?
Hey,
Get like, it's not like a ton, but they get like a second for meeting.
It's like 20 bucks.
Oh, okay.
Not a lot, but
After you said the pledge of allegiance.
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah.
Wow.
After that.
The school's the
I think so.
So you just announced that on
No, you don't.
It is.
Oh, that
You
is
give me
not
any
a bad
other
game.
jobs?
What?
Any other jobs?
Well, no,
Yeah.
Just today?
no.
Oh,
You know better.
no.
No, Rich knows.
Hey, did you tell Brian that volunteered to help?
Good.
I have to rewrite the magazine.
They discover.
His Larry is so just sad.
I was like, I mean,
Is it?
I told her, I said, it's a new restaurant.
It's very.
It's up and coming.
But the one was a.
It's more than 2
My wife
weeks
and I
ago.
drove through one.
Outsourcing.
I don't know who one time's gonna be his mother.
That's what I heard. I don't know
Well, that's what he told Christian and I one day.
if, yeah. So, yeah, there's like totally remodeling that building and.
That looks-
where the Chick Fil A.
Yeah, and they added on to it and
It looks really nice.
yes, it looks real nice.
It does.
It's
You know
Alamo,
when
isn't
they're
it?
gonna open?
Is that what's gonna be
Alamo,
called?
I think it'd be a
I don't know when the
expedition.
opening
But
date is.
first, he told Christian and I his mother was gonna cook there, and then
So,
I heard secondhand that now she's not going to.
Oh,
But
and then he can
Good
spot
to have another option around.
not a restaurant, but well, if Trump doesn't ship them all out, we'll have some cooks left.
And the lights on it and all that. Looks real good.
We need a few left, right?
Yeah, that's right.
he does a lot. But yeah, they opened, yeah, they bought the motel.
Yeah, that looks.
Yeah. Bunkhouse.
Yeah.
Larry Perel sold that.
Yeah,
That's what information.
Business is booming.
so, yeah, everything's got some up and coming stuff.
Somebody to tell me.
Up and coming. Those two words have never been used with Larrabee in the same sentence before.
Probably better than like the county engineer calling it. So you put something in the paper reminding people not to come at my guy with like guns, that they really are checking the reflections of the sign.
I saw it.
Oh, when they're out
I saw
spotlighting.
that they posted that, so I'm like, I wonder if there are some people who are like,
That's the thing, there was an incident and I was like, that's fun.
Before we enter the agenda.
We're ready.
oh, that's not a nice thing.
Jocelyn got that done. Brought them and she laminated and made it real nice.
If you want to leave them, I can put them out every time if you want to make a place, or you can take them home.
I'm gonna leave mine.
I don't know. Okay.
Probably best I leave it. If we want to see it again.
Okay, so I have the time. It's 5:32. I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mission statement.
With liberty and law, we will empower others to become truly matters to our changing world.
No,
Yes, you want to see it? Okay, so
But for right now, guys, let's just stand and have a moment of silence for the shooting that went on earlier in school, just for a moment. Thank you. Thank you very much. Our prayers are with all the people affected.
three. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Mullins to approve the agenda.
Second.
Second by Barkley. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, roll call vote. Barkley.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Riegert.
Here.
Freed.
Here.
Mullins.
Here.
We will move on to welcome visitors section. If anyone here who would wish to speak to anything not on the agenda, be sure to sign in. Joyce?
There wasn't anybody
Oh,
signed.
there's no one. So just a reminder, we follow Robert's Rules of Order and Board Policy 213 during this time. But since someone signed up, we will move on. Consent agenda. And spring sports.
I believe we're still looking for middle school track coach.
Okay.
Resigned, but then Frank is taking the position that was open. They'll take it.
Oh, okay. They're still.
The one short.
Maybe they're sure this consent agenda. We have any more?
No. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. That agenda.
Okay, I have a motion by Mullins to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
By Ritter. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Moving on to communication reports. Building principals, Mr. C, you got this one first?
I do not have anything. Just to mention on there, but holiday season coming up, just a big thank you to all of our Tide partners, bus drivers, parent volunteers, all the people that help with all the extra stuff that happens throughout the last week of school and the holiday break. So a lot of people worked really hard. Do some pretty cool things with our classroom. So we didn't have space to do that on there, but I like to give a thank you every year just to all those people for putting their time, efforts, and talent into all the fun craziness that is the week before break in the elementary school. So otherwise, do you guys have any questions for anything submitted on there?
Last year, I know you could use winter stuff for some of the kids that didn't have any. Are you in need this year? Or do you have a good?
Right now, we are okay right now.
Okay.
But let me get back to you into January.
Sure.
So we've had quite a bit of donations come in, a lot of generous support for coats, hats, gloves, boots, and stuff.
Good.
Once the snow starts actually flying around, we may be in need of some more. But for right now, I think we're sitting pretty good. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Okay. Great.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
So maybe this isn't a question for you, but just for anybody. So how did they determine the 3.5 million, the governor and her team, how did they determine that that's what they needed to do with
I'm honestly not. So I'm going to be honest with you. That great program. I'm super excited to get 20 books into all of our first graders' hands. I literally just got an email that said, "Hey, we're shipping you out all these books for your kids," and I got it at 12:45, and at 1:45, the UPS guy came with
Oh.
the books for.
Man.
So to
Take that, Amazon.
So I'm going to be honest with you, Brian. I don't know. I think that is just the amount that it cost per kid.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. Like I don't
Yep.
think it was we're going to use this amount. I think that's just.
Did we have somebody lobbying for this? I mean, where did this request come from?
I think a lot of it has come through. Like, there's been a big push this year with like statewide letters training, which I've talked about. There's an online reading curriculum that's free to the state right now that our third and fourth grade kiddos are using. And
Is that Amira?
Yeah. And then this, so I think there's just a big push from the state down with a lot of different literacy initiatives. So I think this was one avenue that they felt.
I think it's great.
It's great.
I'm just wondering if this was in response of a need that somebody put forward.
I'm honestly not
Sure where those funds were allocated.
Because if it was, then we want to use that route for our second need.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Absolutely, yeah.
if it was a lobbyist, then we want to encourage them to continue.
Like I said, I think superintendents got an email to forward to their principals that Tom forwarded to me about 8:30 that morning. 12:45, I got an email that said, "Hey, your books have been shipped." And 1:45, they were sitting in my office still.
It's awesome. All right.
Yeah. So I wish everything set up quick and moved that.
Something fast from the city.
Mistake. Yeah. Okay, very good.
Thank you, Mr.
No
Christensen. Mrs. Miller, what's going on at the middle school?
I don't have a lot to add. I do want to thank all of the people who come for High Five Fridays. It's a big hit at the schools. The kids love seeing all the different groups. I've had more people reach out that want to do it than I have Fridays in the entire school year. So that's exciting. Otherwise, do you have questions about anything that happened?
Thank you, Mrs.
Good.
Miller.
Thank you.
Mr. Malowski.
I have nothing to add to the report. The only thing I wanted to highlight was I wish you guys could have seen the door decorating going on during homeroom, because to see high schoolers get into that much arts and crafts stuff is awesome to see the school spirit and have them want to do those things and partake in those things. So, it's only 15 minutes for setup, decorating, and cleanup for about a week or so. So it's really great to see the teacher interaction and the student interaction while building those things and doing those different things together. Any questions at all?
Well, I did, I appreciate the information about that survey, the follow-up to the Marzano one. So it sounds like January PD Day, we'll be doing that. So I would love a copy of that if that would be possible.
We'll probably do that like we did last time. Go through with those leadership teams and then have the groups that Mr. Mike send out and it's an MOT.
Perfect.
So yeah, because the 57 question survey the 18s that we felt were aligned to initiatives we're doing here. There was a lot of the things on there that for a district our size just weren't
Right.
applicable.
Right.
So, yep,
And then when the responses are don't know or unsure, like what's the difference between those
Yep.
two? Yeah.
yeah, so we have cleaned up a lot of that. Yeah, we're trying to give them more condensed to everybody.
And then Mr. Milowski, I wanted to check up on the bathroom issues at the high school. Is that resolved or
Yep,
still
we're,
occurring?
so I have an email going out tomorrow morning to teachers about, in different areas of where we need to have more patrol,
Okay.
go through bathrooms randomly, just kind of see. The thing is, our school, like other schools I've been at, they've had one central bathroom location, usually right outside the gym. But
Okay.
ours is a little bit different. We have them all over the building. So after meeting with Mr. Reichert and Mike, we decided on which one to definitely lock up, just because it's a supervision nightmare,
Okay.
just based upon where it's located. So, and then I'm going to meet with the high school students tomorrow.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
Do you have any other questions for Mr. Malowski at the high school? Thank you, Mr. Malowski. Mr. Reichert.
Not much to add to my report. One thing I do want to mention is tomorrow night, the CAPS class will have their showcase here at 6:30 in the high school library. Just an opportunity for them to show and to talk and converse about what they did over the course of the semester. It's really kind of cool to just get in there and ask specific questions about the projects that they worked on, businesses that they worked with, what they learned. So it's kind of a non-threatening opportunity to get in and see some kids and what they've done over the course of the semester. And
Is
then,
there approximate time that we or is it?
half hour.
Okay.
By the time you make it around to all the groups, you spend about 5 minutes with each group or however long you want. I mean, it's come and go. It's not like you have to stand there.
Okay.
So that's a good opportunity. And then the Future Ready Day is what, January 21st?
Right?
I know it's later in January. So that's an opportunity for high school kids and high school staff to get our kids in front of opportunities that they have to then post secondary. So after high school, whether that be college, or that be workforce, or whatever it may be. It's a great community opportunity for them to get into our school as well. So a couple highlights there. Cherokee Education Foundation fundraising event set for Saturday, March 1st. That'll be at the Little Sioux Event Center. And started to look at summer projects and some long-term and medium-term planning as well on Friday. So I want to thank Jared and Ray for coming in and meeting with Joyce and myself and Mike and Jamie to get that process started. So, yeah. Any questions for me?
I do have a couple. So in the handbook, I thought it said that we try not to do things on Wednesdays and Sundays. How is that like managed? So like the activity tomorrow night would be great to go to, but being a Wednesday night, it doesn't work.
Tomorrow's Tuesday.
Tomorrow is Tuesday, so it's not on that Wednesday, the 18th?
Yes, Wednesday. I'm sorry, I was the day. It's on Wednesday, not tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomorrow night is basketball.
Yeah, basketball tomorrow night.
I know, that's why I asked about the time, because I'm like, oh, I thought
Yeah.
I apologize.
there's a really good
It's on
game that
Wednesday,
night.
not tomorrow.
Wednesday.
Basketball's tomorrow
Wrestling's
night.
tomorrow.
It's all kind of running together.
And then I got a notice of something else, like in February, scheduled on a Sunday. So how is that managed for trying
We
to
try to
keep that
do everything
time?
we can to stay away from those evenings, and like on Wednesday, try to have it late enough so that it's usually after any church activity. It's not ideal. And generally with high school students, don't have as many church activities, especially for juniors and seniors, because they've completed confirmation and whatnot. So again, we still try to go late enough so that if they do participate in any church activities, that they have and on Sundays, those are optional items. So like your open gyms and stuff, those are not required. And you run into where you only have so many times in the week that things are. Especially this time of year in the spring when there's something going on just about every. It's not ideal, I know, but we do try to manage it. I think the activity you're talking about in February, Mr. Spooner and myself, and I think it's a speech that you're talking about. Speech coaches that we looked at every possible. So, said it's fine this year, but.
Okay.
So.
I just really value that boundary and want to encourage us to keep it that way for families. So I'm glad to hear that it's a last resort. Yeah.
With the more things that are going on, family time can get pinched.
Yeah.
And try to do what we can to make that available. So, do the best we can.
Okay, thanks. And then two other things I wanted to follow up with you on, that reporting form that we had talked about a couple months back.
Yep.
Making
That's
that.
been sent to the website.
Okay. It's done?
It's on there.
Oh.
I have to look, but
Okay. I checked a couple days ago. It was still the printable one, but it's still on the to-do. And then the other question was the safety grant. If I remember right, everything's due like the end of December, right?
and we have been working on getting that stuff ordered. We've got cameras, fobs, and those types of things taken care of. To expand on the number of cameras and fobs. Make sure that we better cover the buildings. We still have some money left over. And it's very difficult to get a hold of somebody down there. I called again on Friday and left another message. So working on. So I just have some questions, some follow up on some things, as far as some other things that we could potentially add
Okay.
to that. So the time the clock is ticking.
Right. It does have to be done by 12/31/24.
12/31.
Okay.
Misty is not always great about returning phone calls.
All right. Thank you.
What was it? The Vision Grant Oak College's school option. Was it?
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
I said, I asked Tom because was a safety grant, did we ever take board action with that? No, we talked about
I
it.
don't know. I kind of jumped in on that
Yeah.
screen.
Right.
So I don't remember if there was board action taken on that.
I feel like it's been a several year process. I didn't know if anyone would.
Yeah, because you're right. It was about 2 years ago. So then I was thinking, oh man, that deadline is coming up. I wonder where. Great.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ryder. We will move on to policy. We have clerical changes and edits as recommended by ISB. We are to affirm policies 209.1 development of policy, 209.2 adoption of policy, 209.3 dissemination of policy, 209.4 excuse me, 209.4 suspension of policy, 209.5 administration in the absence of policy, 209.6 review and revision of policy, 209.7 review administrative regulations, 210.1 annual meetings, 210.2 regular meetings, 210.3 special meetings.
One thing I wanted to point out just for public knowledge is that according to this, we go through all of our policies every 5 years.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if the public knew that, so I just thought that would be helpful information. And then the only other question was on the 210.2, the regular meeting. I don't know if it's a comment or a question, but that the public notice of the meetings will be given. Curious about how that is done and if there's any way to increase that visibility or that notification.
So I send out the board information packets on generally the Thursday before the meeting. That's also sent to the newspaper and the radio to post or whatever they choose to do with it. It's posted here outside the school, or outside the central office. It's on our school calendar.
Okay, I did not
Yep.
notice that. Okay, but it's good.
Do you have an idea of something else?
Well, I thought people could sign up to receive it by email. That
I've had a couple
that have requested that.
So, like we have a distribution list, so whenever agendas go out, they can go out to people that request it.
It was one of those things that,
Can we just direct them to our website?
to our website, how
So it's their
redundant is
responsibility
it?
to find it,
We're-
not ours to get them here. So what I've done is,
As taxpayers, I think we have to take a little bit of responsibility too. If we want it, we know it's the third Wednesday. I've been on board for over 5 years, or the third Monday of the month. You know I can get on Friday and see it, and it's been like that for over 5 years. So I think at some point, instead of it being handed to us, we have to take some responsibility and know where it's accessible.
on our website, isn't there
Yes,
a tab says school board?
yes.
It's not very intuitive though, I will
Well,
say.
I actually don't like our website at all. I would agree.
I will
But-
say,
But I'm not very savvy, so, but there is a school board tab. You click on it and it
Yep.
shows you everything.
so before being on the board though, it was not very easy or intuitive to find the board packets or when exactly the meetings were. So you would like have to go back, there's no like notification system, so you would just have to check the website and now it's been much more regular being on the website now, but it hasn't always been. So like the distribution list, I think would be helpful for people that did want the packet beforehand. And that doesn't cost anything. You just add them to
But
it.
it costs time of our staff to do that, wouldn't it?
But you always send it to like us and the newspaper, so you would just add those email addresses to your distribution list.
Yes, and then what I do for those that have requested, because I do have a couple that I just send them the link to the website.
Okay. Yeah.
Which
I mean,
think
which
is
is the same thing. It's just, that's what I.
Right, yeah.
And that's plenty good,
Yeah, as the superintendent.
plenty good. Hold anybody's hand.
I agree. It's publicly available
Yeah.
in a lot of places. Newspaper has it.
In the what's happening in the paper, I think that would be a really good section for it to be in, but it's not.
But we can't dictate where the paper would put stuff. Are you asking?
No, I'm not dictating. I'm just suggesting like, so
You mean like, sorry.
No,
No.
please.
Please.
Do you mean like, on the inside pages where we list, the various meetings? And
yes.
I know that on our online website calendar, we're sort of trying to find our way as to what counts as, we're going to advertise your event versus we're going to remind people of your meeting. I think that nobody's ever asked us to run like the regular school board meeting in our what's happening. I don't see an issue with it, and I'm not the editor. I can put that.
And do you
forward.
do you do Storm Lakes then? Would you do you put theirs on now or not?
I don't. Does Storm Lake do that, you mean?
Yeah, that's what question.
I'm not positive. That's what I'm happy to listen to it for you because it wouldn't be anything other than just a line of text.
Would it be in the paper in 2 spots then, or is it just a
We
question?
we don't say, oh, hey, remember there's a school board meeting coming up. But if you're looking for us to maybe include that in the issue beforehand, I mean, I'm sure.
Or just in the what's happening. It would be helpful for me. So I newer to this than a lot of you, but it was hard information to find.
We did try for a little while, like we would put in our online calendar, like, hey, the supervisors meeting is happening this day, and then we would link to their agenda. If that's something that the community would find helpful, the paper is willing to.
I do want to be careful
got
that we're not
Facebook
making
page.
any decisions.
We got a Facebook page.
So
Put
we
the
gotta
link
make
on
an action
Facebook.
item.
Yes, the Facebook
So-
page would help also. I saw it was
We
on
need more of
today.
this.
Want to tread lightly of, and
Yeah.
It's just, if you have feedback like that, if you reach out to the newspaper, we're willing to work with you guys.
So I'm an over communicator, and I know not everyone is, and that's fine. But when it just to make that information accessible in as many ways as possible. Yes, and I understand what you're saying about expense, but these are all relatively free. These are all free.
Times concern now, although that's
the
something.
what's happening part of the paper, for example, isn't a free area.
So what's happening is, it's just,
It
yeah,
is
yep, it's just nobody's ever asked us to
to do
include the
with the
school board.
school, sure.
So if this, if you guys would, if somebody would like to officially reach out and communicate, we're happy to work with you.
Maybe I just want to be careful.
Sorry, what was
I
that?
said I just want to be careful about
It's not an
making any of those
action item.
decisions because this is not an action agenda item.
But it's still a good discussion.
Side shoot of a policy
Yes, because the policy mentions public
Right,
notice.
Right, but we're not taking
Which we
action
do.
on
Does
that.
have, yeah, we got
We do have,
several public notices, so.
but it wouldn't hurt if we can do another one. So be it.
That was my comment. Thank you.
Next.
Take a motion
Oh,
to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve policy changes.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mullins and a second by Freed to approve policy. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to new business. Item A, discussion of information concerning CES character education. We have a roll.
Okay, so Mrs. Brunstein will.
You can stand there. Okay. Is that where you're comfortable?
I'm comfortable wherever you don't need to.
Microphone's right here.
Oh,
Maybe up here.
there's a microphone that's a little bit closer.
Is this the table you want me to stand on?
That's fine.
Okay, so I was lucky enough to present at the Iowa School Counselor Association conference this last November in Des Moines to talk about the program that I've been building, that I'm using for my life skills classes. So the thing that kind of triggered the idea with me was when I went to restorative practices training a few years ago. We had this Allie Hearn who did the training, and she was very amazing, talking about like restorative justice and how like when harm has been done, you can sit down with a group of people and all the ones that were involved, you would sit down, everybody would have their turn to say what they want to say using a talking piece, which is like a turn-taking thing that they have. And then as you go around, everybody can say how it affected them, and you can go through and repair some of that harm that's been done. And it's found to be very effective. It's been research-based and really, I drank the Kool-Aid. I mean, like, long story short, I'm all in on restorative practices. I love it. I started implementing it in my life skills classes by doing community circles. So that's a lot of what we do is whatever value we're talking about at the time, we'll have a community circle, which means the whole class sits in a circle. Again, you have that talking piece, and we'll talk about whatever the topic is. So the way I decided that was during restorative practices, everything always came back to values. Like everything came back to values. And so they kept talking about Brene Brown as well. So I printed out Brene Brown's list of values, which there's like over 100 of them on here. And I started picking out the ones that I felt were important, they were either important to me growing up, or I just felt through all of my years of education that they're important for kids to have. So we all know that our lives are busier, and home lives don't look like they did when I was growing up. You know, we sat down to eat dinner every night. We talked about our day. It's as time has gone on, not as many of these values are being taught in the home, and parents are busy and kids are busy and stuff. So these were ones that I thought were important. I chose 15 core values. They range anywhere from like compassion, empathy, respect, accountability, courage, being genuine, forgiveness, just values that I thought were important. So I kind of went through on the Brene Browns, and I have kind of a color-coded list. So anyone that was like about like accountability, is that like being responsible? Is it being a good sport and things like that? Caring and being genuine and respect, like anything like respect with inclusion, integrity, diversity, self-respect. I mean, you have to respect yourself before you can respect others. So I kind of built that. And then at Ed Foundation, I began asking for funds from Ed Foundation to start building my classroom library so that I can use those resources to teach these values in my life skills classes. So in second, third, and fourth grade, I also have a data tool that I use. So in the beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year, we do fast testing so we can see where kids are in reading and mathematics throughout the school year from the beginning to the end. So I started doing that same thing with this Plickers program. It's kind of a multiple choice thing where the kids all hold a QR code. I read it with my phone. It gives immediate feedback to say, okay, what is forgiveness? Is forgiveness, you know, lending somebody a pencil when they needed something? Or is it, you know, choosing to move on past an issue and put the problems behind you or whatever. So as I read it, it will tell me out of your class of 25, 13 of them got it right. So right away, it gives me feedback. So then I can, you know, that can be kind of a tier 1, tier 2 thing for me as well. Like, did they get what I was trying to teach? When you compare the, you know, beginning of the year to the middle of the year, these are the kids who still, they're not getting it at all. So I can pull and do small groups. You know, these kids have no idea what it means to be genuine, what it means to be real, or whatever. So I can pull them individually. I can pull them in small groups. It doesn't even have to be like one grade. I could pull kids from 2nd and 3rd grade together and do activities. So then you're also building more community, doing activities and stuff like that. So along with that, I also made sure that, you know, with the American School Counselor Association, our model is making sure that we are teaching academic, personal, social, and career goals. So on my lesson plans, I have at the beginning of my lesson of what it is, I have which ASCA standards it meets as well, or that lesson is hitting. So I don't use, I mean, I do. The 25th or 21st century skills is probably what I use from Iowa Core, but I can't use a lot of the other things because they're academic. So I just kind of tie them in that way and then meet the ASCA standards. So that's about, the kids love circles. If I don't do a circle in one of our life skills classes, they always ask and they're always bumped. So I just find a lot of different things to do that make circle fun. So I have lots of different fidgets that we use for talking pieces. I have like a magic wand that lights up. So we might turn off all the lights and pull the curtains down and have a dark circle. So we're just doing different fun ways of how we share information with each other.
You mean it's like a talking stick? Is
It's
that
a
what
talking
you're
piece.
saying?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So it can be anything from like a squishy to a rock to a magic wand
But
to
like it's the thing where you can only talk if you're holding it.
yeah. So at the beginning we set the norms. So this is circle. You know, whatever happens in circle stays in circle. Make sure that you say everything that you want to say. When you have the talking piece, that is your chance to say what you need to say and get it all out. But make sure that you're sharing the air and you're not taking it all. Give other people a chance to talk, and you know, listen with your whole body. Make sure that your eyes, your ears, your body is turned towards them. You're not messing around. So there's like norms that we set right from the beginning.
Was it age appropriate? I mean, explain to me how, is it varying as you work with different ages?
Yes. So what I do with empathy, with like we just got done with empathy right now. So what I would teach with empathy with kindergartners would be way different than what I would do for 4th grade classroom. So I might start out with like saying that I have a song that I was playing for kindergarten and I had that song in my head all weekend long about empathy. But so we do a lot of the community circles and stuff like that. Maybe a video that goes with it. That's why I don't start even like seeing if they retain the values. It's just kind of introduction, kindergarten and 1st grade. And then when I start moving into the upper level grades, it'll be things that they can relate to. Like if you see somebody carrying their lunch tray through the cafeteria and they trip and fall in front of everybody. First of all, how would they feel? How would you feel if you were in that person's shoes? If you were trying to feel the feelings that they're having, how would you feel? And what would you do to help them? So that's like empathy and compassion tied together. Not only are you trying to understand how they feel, but then you're moving on with compassion and helping them.
So you mentioned scoring, getting that feedback through those surveys, and then how do you anticipate that as we look at the success rate of teaching values, right? Or how
Right.
to
Yep.
oversimplify it. How will we understand the success rate? I mean, you mentioned, say, 13 out of 25 kind of got it. So, obviously some,
Right.
some didn't.
So then it will give whole class percentages too. So after we get done in the fall, it might say Mrs. Lockin's class got a 37% on the
Yep.
entire values thing. And then I always tell them our goal is to increase.
Okay.
So if that means we get 38%,
That's practice.
that's an improvement. We hope for bigger, but if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But the scores jump. I mean, like overall, by the time they get up, third and fourth graders, if they start out low, they're up to 87 to in the 90%.
Okay.
Because I do that pulling of, okay, this person has no idea what respect is or whatever. So we pull
Sure.
a small group or,
Yeah.
role playing or, whatever.
How long have you been doing this particular?
Third year. This is
Third
my
year.
third year. It just kind of builds every year.
And your personal assessment, just your gut feeling as to.
I find this a lot more effective than, when I first came in, I wasn't really trained in anything. This is my 17th year as the school counselor. So 26th in the district, 17th as a counselor. And character counts is what we use. So it was, trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, caring, fairness, and citizenship. And I felt like, you talk about other things, but that vocabulary is very small. That's 6 words. So as I started doing this and kind of picking up other things as I went along too, because there's no set curriculum. There's no set curriculum for life skills classes. So I just started building on things that I felt were important and, talking with other teachers and things like that. But I personally think it's a common language, and actually over the course of the last 2 years, I feel like it's a whole school agenda now, because we have our monthly assemblies that we're doing. So our first assembly was on integrity. Last year, we invited Matt Royster in, and he came in and used all of these different examples of what integrity are, doing what you're supposed to be doing when nobody else is watching. He brought his own children up and did different examples of it, and then made this big integrity soup thing that the kids remember that. Like they remember if I say, what do you remember about integrity? I remember Matt Royster came in and, they made this but what does it mean? Yeah. Oh, doing what you're supposed to be when nobody's watching, even when nobody's watching. So
I think it's great. I'm glad you're doing it. I'm glad you're passionate about it. We're lucky to have you.
Yeah. Thank you.
I would agree. And then, there's all those other skills on that list that you had. And if we start seeing a trend or change in what the students need some more help with, you can adapt that, right? Because you don't follow a set curriculum.
Right, exactly. In fact, I started out with just those 15 values for the first 2 years. And then I added in the other ones, being genuine, forgiveness, and I can't remember. I don't remember. But they need to know that forgiveness is a big part of life too. Yeah. You can't walk around with a grudge your whole life. It's not good for anybody. Right?
How often do you get each class for life skills?
Every 5 days. So we're on a 5-day rotation. So if it, just kind of goes on, if we had Thanksgiving break and it was day 1, day 2, then we start back on the Monday after Thanksgiving with day 3, 4, 5.
Okay. And then you get them for half hour.
Yep. About a half hour.
Okay.
Not enough. It's never enough.
Never enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
My kids would say that they should have library less, and this is more.
I will say the caveat to that is the more I have in the classroom, the less we pull groups of kids. So
Yeah.
It's a
It is, because,
Tight down.
right. And all that other time, I am spent all day, every day, meeting with kids or groups or meetings.
So are you, what's,
Rotary Club, I'm just kidding.
so with these values, what's your, like schedule? Like, do you try and get through all those values in 1 year? Oh, you do?
Yes, I do. In fact, we started, the first year, as we are wrapping it all up towards the end of the year with the fourth grade, I have them do value commercials, is what I call them. They're value commercials. So they get in, I put them in groups, and the group has to choose a value that they feel is like really, really an important value to them. And then they have to sell it. So they can make a poster. They make a poster of their value, and then I videotape them. They can bring whatever props in. They do the whole planning thing all by themselves. And then I videotape them making these little value commercials that sell their value to other people.
So by the time if they're in this elementary, you start in kindergarten or first?
Kindergarten.
So then they'll have 5 or 6 years
Yes.
of having this reinforced.
Right.
That's amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions?
What Clickers? What is that an acronym or what?
No,
I've
it's
never
just,
heard of
Plickers is just a program. So you download it, you create your exam on the,
How do you spell it?
Plickers.
Okay.
So this, for example, is like the assessment. So this would say like kindness. Is it saying hi? Well, and I'll tell them too, like, I try to trick you. So I don't want an example of kindness. I want the definition. I want you to tell me what it means. So like for kindness, it says saying thank you when you are given something, working together with another person, doing what you are supposed to be doing, or being friendly, generous, and thoughtful to others. So the answer is E. So then right away, when we're doing this, if I push play set, so we're playing that, I'll go Mr. Todd's class. So as they're holding all these cue cards or QR codes up.
So they like have one card for A, one
Yep.
card for B, one
Yes.
card for C.
So then there's my phone and I'm going like this and it's reading all their, yes, each side of the QR code has a letter.
That is amazing.
It is very, very fast data. It gives you
Yeah.
like immediate data back. So
Great tool.
it is a great tool. We learned about it several years ago, but I don't know, I didn't. You know, data is not my strong point, but it is now.
Yeah.
I found a way that I can use it as user friendly. So,
Good.
Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you, Mrs.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
I know. Right? Item, new business, item B, discussion of action concerning approval of a resolution to continue participation in the instructional support program.
Okay, so we had the public hearing last month prior to the regular meeting. This is just the board action to approve continued participation. So once that is, we haven't had any questions or any inquiries into that, so I don't have any issues, but just the board action to keep moving the process forward.
I'll move to approve participation.
So we have a motion by Barkley to approve
Second.
participation in the instructional support program, and then we have a second by Freed. Is there any discussion on that ISP?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Item C, discussion of action concerning Cherokee Community School District in cooperation with Lakes Conference Schools to align and join the Siouxland Conference in the 25-26 school year.
Okay, so there have been talks between the remaining Lakes schools and the Siouxland Conference. Superintendents met from both conferences met prior to Thanksgiving. ADs met here last week. Each school district is taking this to their board just for discussion in public setting if needed. But we are moving towards the unification of those two conferences, which in addition to adding Western Christian back in as well, as a way as it sits right now, there'll be 16 schools in the conference. Curious, Cherokee would fall right in the middle as far as size wise. So very similar to the layout of where we're at with the lakes, except we're the smallest school right now in the lakes. A lot of discussion about what that will look like. Is it going to be one super conference, for lack of a better term, or will there be divisions like a big school or a small school, east or west, north or south? That will get figured out later on. Right now, it's just making sure that all boards are on board with moving forward with this process. If we don't move forward with this process, we choose not to. I don't know what other options we would have. So we have approached the Western Valley Conference. They were not interested. We would go into that conference and be the largest school. Okay. Next largest would be Ida Grove or OAVCIG. Twin Lakes, again, we would go in there and be the largest school in the conference as well. So I personally feel that Siouxland is the best fit for us from a size standpoint, competitiveness standpoint, travel standpoint. Yes, we're going to go a little bit further drive with, schools like West Lyon, Central Lyon, but that's not going to be that much further, if any further than go industrial. So I think this would be the right direction to go for Cherokee schools.
And this was the first conference that we had an inquiry with, right?
Yep.
Siouxland. So
we went to first. Yes,
yeah.
We were denied initially. In fact, all lake schools were denied.
Mm-hmm.
So Spirit Lake went through the mediation process and kind of got the ball rolling for us, and they decided to sit down and meet with all of us. Like I said,
so is this, if you don't, like, can the state make you do this?
no, the state will.
It's totally up to you. Okay.
They have to get it intervened.
Okay.
And that's where kind of Spirit Lake is
we
with
did.
the mediation process. They apply to the state union, or the Girls Union and the Boys Athletic Association mediation. The recommendation to the Department of Ed then was to allow Spirit Lake into the Siouxland.
And then the Siouxland can't say no if it comes from the state like that. Okay.
Make scheduling a heck of a lot easier, shouldn't it?
Absolutely. We could.
16 teams instead
We
of.
don't possibly go back to having
night.
basketball games on Tuesdays and Fridays.
Yep.
So we already play a lot of those teams.
We do.
In areas.
I'll make a motion to align with the Siouxland Conference.
Does your motion include a mandate to drive cheerleader buses or
Football
bands to all the?
cheerleaders. Not all, maybe one.
We
Take your turn.
I'll do one a year.
I bet you would be a good one to write. All right, so we have a motion by Barkley to approve the process of potentially merging with Siouxland Conference,
I'll second that.
and a second by Mullins. Okay, any discussion?
So in this process, Tom, will we have to come back to a board vote to join?
Potentially. We'll see how it all plays out.
This is just to keep
This is
looking.
just to keep looking into that. But we are interested in participating in those conversations. So for the Siouxland schools, it's a little bit more writing on it. They need at least 7 of the 10 schools in the conference to agree. Have these conversations.
That's what I was
The
going to
lakes,
ask you next.
the Lakes schools decided we would do it just to show our uniformity.
Mm-hmm.
And as of, there's been board meetings the last week or so. Right now we're trending in the right direction. So as far as the Siouxland schools go.
Okay.
Do coaches have any input on this, or does it not really? We just kind of do it.
Informal conversations that Jason and I have had with them. They understand the scheduling issues that we've had and we've lost how many schools in the Lakes Conference over the last few years. They see it from that perspective.
Okay.
We need to do something. And they understand the Siouxland competitiveness wise is tough.
Yeah.
In every sport. So, but also we play some of those schools already in football. which is, that's a districting that has nothing to do with your conference, so they're familiar with them, they understand what it takes. They understand we got to do something. So,
Competition's good.
yeah, competition's good.
It is.
Competition's good.
All right, so we have a motion by Barkley and a second by Mullins. All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes. Item D, discussion of information concerning a board work session or February 10th.
February 10th. So this would be our annual session that we've had since I've been in
What?
Cherokee.
Yes.
Be Monday, February 10th. And at this point in time, I just want you to mark down the day so you have that day available. And yeah, so.
And board, we did, there may be a closed session.
Yeah.
Do that as well.
Okay.
Okay, so that is not an action item. Jared, did you have a question about that?
Just wondering what a jazz choir fest in Storm Lake is.
That's
Jazz
just for the
choir,
kids.
They go up for a form and they receive ratings from judges there.
Okay. Well, that's all I have on my calendar that day.
We
What
don't
time
have
did
to
that
go.
start?
It's a great question.
Is it during the day?
Don't know how to.
Yeah, I don't.
We'll
think
call
they
your
would
wife
do
and
it.
ask. She just didn't want to tell you this early.
A couple days before.
That's
Oh, yeah, by the way, we got to go to Storm Lake.
As long as we're done before that, we'll make it work.
Yes.
For committee reports, I don't really have a report, but I did. So at the IASB conference, I guess some schools have just like their policy group, or just their policy people meet once a month to like review policy and then bring recommendations to the board. Do you know? So Joyce didn't think we'd had anything like that. Do you recall?
In my time here at Cherokee, I do not recall any of the committee groups meeting other than as needed.
Okay.
But again, my first 3 years, I was not necessarily privy to that information. So
I mean, that's basically.
Joyce would be your
Right.
better resource on that. So
We haven't. Okay.
not to put her on the spot.
No.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff with policy, we review it we have it enough so we hit it every policy at least once during a 4-year term. And as we get from ISB and updates or anything with budgets. So I don't know if it's necessarily.
So it sounds like some of what they do is to help take a little bit off the superintendent's plate. So like they get the updates from IASB and like work through it from them.
You know the district that was talking about that?
Linmar. She was just talking about, it sounded like it was beneficial for them as board members because it kind of took it. I mean, so they would come and bring recommendations. So the whole board didn't have to like dig into it at the whole board meeting. It was done it just sounded like a positive idea. I didn't know if we've ever considered that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something I serve on that.
Yeah.
You too. You've never reached out to me about that, so
Right.
you could reach out.
It's something you can do. It just, it will,
Or we like.
the rest of the board won't get to look at it as much perhaps, but
I just don't.
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's what somebody wants to do.
Kind of beat me to the punch there, Jocelyn and Jared. I was gonna say, kind of realized with Tom after the agenda was already out, we should have put convention on there. But maybe if either of you two would want to share anything about convention, anything new you learned, brief summary.
That was a good experience. The keynote speakers were great. The breakout sessions were good information. Just not being up on a lot of it, so I thought I'll probably go back for one day next year.
How many
Thursday.
people attend?
Thousands.
It was
It's a good crowd. good turn. Granted, that was the first one I've been to, but
You just,
How's it paid for?
We pay for it. We do. We pay a membership for ISB, and then
Yeah.
we pay for any session that we would go to, except for delegates assembly. Everything else we have to pay per session, $110 per session that you would go to. So if we would have, 5 board members and Tom or Joyce down there too, it'd be per person.
Per person, per
No,
session.
so it's not per district.
but it is, so it's like information that I don't know that you can learn anywhere else or where they have these kind of collaborative things. So like ISB will present along with schools that are excelling in certain things. They have attorneys. So I went to one on collaborative bargaining. So they had Iowa City School there share what they did. I went to one on a board that they actually have like board goals and operating agreement that I can get you a copy, but it was really helpful, like things like we will not take anything personally, or just like how the board functions at the table.
guiding principles.
Yes, thank you. That's much better words than I had. And then I did the school finance 201, which is more in depth. So it was hard to pick because they had so many good suggestions.
5 or 6 different options at each time slot. So yeah, you gotta pick which one you think is gonna be most beneficial for you. But I mean, the people presenting are the ones that are. It'd be like Amy presenting at
Yeah.
it's working for her. She's gonna tell others.
Best practices.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
The networking aspect of it.
Yes.
That's probably one of the things I found very valuable was just connecting with some superintendents that I don't necessarily see all that often. Picking up on different things. So,
That's great. I just always,
that's from my perspective. I mean,
I'm a big cost person, so
Yeah.
evaluate equation includes price.
Yeah.
So I just curious as to what the cost is.
And that's something that and I had brought up to ISB too, was, like for us, it's easy for Des Moines and stuff and all those schools. For us, our school is paying for a hotel, we're paying for each person that's going
Right.
there.
So that part I don't mind. I'm just curious as to how much state money's getting poured in.
Oh, I
as
don't know.
well.
That it's all independently funded by the
Yeah,
state.
because they have sponsors for each thing, and then like they come up and get a 30-second blurb,
good.
like construction companies or whatever.
Yeah, and little notebooks.
Yeah, and then they have a vendor booth where like all of these specialists in education. So you guys met like a construction company that does things. I mean,
Good.
Very, very worth.
Either of you want to add anything else about prevention and stuff? And thank you both and Tom for going.
The keynotes, there was one on poverty that was really remarkable.
I thought all the keynotes were awesome, actually. Yeah.
Does anyone else have anything they want to add for anything on committee reports or anything that they would like to highlight about today's meeting? Something that we had discussed at a work session with you from IASB that we could implement.
I really appreciate Mrs. Brunstein's presentation. I mean, I hear my kids talk about it, but they're not very reliable for information. So to hear that from you is really helpful. And that we're, teaching kids the ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, but also that social emotional growing, being a good person is just really good to hear.
When we set our budget, what time of year was it where we started talking about our summer projects and when did we do that last year?
last year, about this time when we started those conversations.
January, February, March, we need to have things pretty much set so that we can get things lined up depending upon the
Yeah,
size of the.
I'm just curious. I couldn't.
We
I don't
usually
remember
have
the
a
time
little
frame.
bit of an idea after the governor's State of the
State
Union,
of the state.
State of the State. So then she'll kind of get some pre-notes.
Okay. So that'll be probably something that we'll start talking about next month.
That's the hope. Ray and Jared, like I said, Joyce.
Yeah.
We met last Friday. Just started to get some things down on paper as far as what are some things that we have to get done this summer. Mike and Jamie have been gathering bids. So got a preliminary start on that. Also had a conversation in regards to working with the construction group that comes in and kind of does an assessment of your facilities. So
Saw that in your email.
helps you to prioritize
It'd be good.
what needs to be done, what's a must do, but also a little long-term planning as well. You know, you look at our high school, we've had these conversations that this is something that's going to need some work to keep it functional and maintaining. We're lucky to have a good structure, but anytime there's moving parts or anything, things wear out. Starting to see that at the middle school as well. So having somebody come in, or a group come in of experts that can assist with that process, because I'm not an expert in that.
Is the HVAC system done in this school now?
Still on the south side.
South side, which we've talked about that
Yep.
a little bit too. So
Has there been an assessment like that done in the
last one was
recent?
done, I think, 2018.
18.
So it was right around the time it was done when we were trying to figure out what we were gonna do with after the hospital bought Roosevelt. So, and I wasn't on at the time, but there was a whole committee of, school officials and community members. And they tried to figure out, what are we gonna do? We need an elementary school, so are we going to, combine grades or? And during that time is when they did the full of the entire school. Is there anything, I don't believe there's anything left on that list.
No, not doing a really quick glance over the list.
Yeah, when we looked at it, everything was pretty much taken care of.
So then the question is, what has changed in the last 6 years?
And that's why you bring
Yeah.
somebody in, an expert, they have their engineers who are experts in HVAC, electrical,
What
all
is-
that stuff.
What, do we know the cost associated with such an assessment?
I know,
3 times what you want.
I know a range.
The high point anyway.
Yeah.
So, and when, I believe, if I'm correct on this, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but once we get more information, we'll bring it to the board and ultimately be a board decision.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
I will say, so Sunday, my son's got a dog. Anyway, somebody had to walk him. So means he had to work a double, got mandated. I did. And we walked down in behind the school and all over. And it's the best this school has looked in 5 years, easily, on the outside. And it looks good inside as well. But the outside was picked up, stacked right. Things were done the way they're supposed to be done. So hats off to the staff for doing that. And the cement work on the greenhouse looks great. That's going to be really positive. So you got to feel good about
Excited to have that.
making that work out as well as it's going to. It's really looks outstanding. So hats off to Jamie and the team that keeps the school looking good.
bus barn even looks like so nice.
Yeah.
Like the little things like that, like really,
Split
and
up, it's got
parking.
lights on it, nice.
Looks like it needs to be twice as big to get the trailers in and everything else, but yeah, looks good. Is that it?
But does anyone else have anything to add for committee reports or highlights from this meeting? If not, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Freed to adjourn.
Second.
And a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. And it's going to for the Thompson.
So,
Thank you.